Hello everyone, my name is Beansprout and today we're going to be doing something that I've not done in a very long time. What is that, you ask? Well, it's a tier list video. In the past I've done a few tier list videos and I thought, why not try it again? This time I'm going to be ranking all of the mainline Doom soundtracks and giving my opinions on them. So without me rambling anymore, let's get straight into the first one. So, the Doom 1 OST is probably one of the best OSTs in the series. It was composed by Bobby Prince, and it has some of the best and most iconic songs in video game history. This one wasn't really that hard to rank, as it's got quite a lot of really good songs in it. Some of those would include At Doom's Gate, Intermission, and Facing the Spider. So having said all that, I think I'm going to give Doom 1 an S tier. Once again composed by Bobby Prince, Doom 2 is not as good as the first game's soundtrack. There isn't nearly as many great iconic songs as in the first game, and some of the music does sound a bit like elevator music, but the songs that are good are very good. And I do still think that it is a pretty good soundtrack. Some standout songs would be Running from Evil, Doom, and Opening to Hell. But the fact that there isn't as many great iconic songs in this soundtrack as the first one, and that, like I said, some of the music does sound like elevator music, I'm gonna have to put it in B tier. So, Doom 64 was composed by Aubrey Hodges this time, as opposed to Bobby Prince. I think the music in the introduction is absolutely amazing, but there is one glaring issue with this soundtrack, and it's that the rest of the OST sounds like this. I think the rest of the music has a great atmosphere, but isn't really something I would listen to on its own. Don't get me wrong, it fits really well with the game, but this really isn't something that I'd be jamming out to while writing my scripts. I'm gonna put Doom 64's OST into D tier, because there is only really one good song in it, which is the intro music. And I would have put it lower, but the intro music is pretty good. Okay, now moving on to Doom 3. The main menu music in Doom 3 is absolutely amazing, but I think it suffers from the same problem as Doom 64, as there simply isn't enough good music, like the main menu music, in the rest of the soundtrack. And apart from the main menu music, it kinda just sounds a bit like this. So yeah, this one was a bit shorter, but Doom 3 gets a D tier as well, mostly for the same reason as Doom 64. But before we get into the next soundtrack on the list, I would first like to recommend liking this video and subscribing to the channel, if you're enjoying the video so far. I also have a merch store, which currently has 20% off on any item using the code SUMMERTIME. So if I was you, I would check that out. But anyway, on to the next OST. The music in Doom 2016 was composed by the one and only Mick Gordon. Doom 2016 was a new step for the franchise after an extremely long break between games. That break spanning from 2004 to 2016. Yeah, quite a long wait. Not only did Doom 2016 change the visual style and the gameplay, but it changed the music too. The music in Doom 2016 is a new subgenre of metal music named Argent Metal. This soundtrack is great, and it's got some of my favourite songs to listen to. I even have a few of the songs on this OST on my workout playlist. Some standouts would be BFG Division, Rip and Tear, and Harbinger. This OST gets an A tier from me. Mick Gordon returns to compose the Doom soundtrack once again with Doom Eternal. This is probably one of my favourite soundtracks in the entire series, and just gaming in general, and it is an absolute travesty that it isn't on Spotify for everyone to listen to. You can listen to game rips on YouTube, but it really isn't the same as adding it to your Spotify playlists, as I'm not really sure everyone wants to leave YouTube open on their phone when listening to music that way. And that's not even mentioning the fact that the game rips are lower quality than an official mix. The music in this game is some of the best video game music I have ever listened to, and I would love to add it to my previously mentioned workout playlist, but unfortunately, as I just explained, I can't do that. Some standout songs would be The Only Thing They Fear Is You, Meat Hook, and Metal Hell. While generally sticking to the same principles as Doom 2016, the OST does have a bit of a different sound to it this time around, and I absolutely love it. And despite the issues with Spotify I mentioned, I'm still going to give this soundtrack S tier regardless. Now we move on to the Ancient Gods Part 1. I didn't include the DLC campaigns with Doom Eternal simply because they are so different to the main campaign. The DLC soundtrack was composed by David Levy and Andrew Holschull, with Andrew Holschull already being one of my favourite composers due to his work on games such as Dusk, which is a great game by the way. The Ancient Gods Part 1 was a lot heavier than the main campaign and had a lot less synthy type music compared to the main game. Of course, synths were still present, but they weren't the main focus. You can really hear the difference between David and Andrew's music compared to Mick Gordon's, but I don't think that's bad at all. And I personally like the Ancient Gods Part 1 soundtrack quite a lot. Some of the standout songs would include Blood Swamp's Heavy Fighting, Driller, and the opening music. The only issue with this soundtrack is that, once again, you can only listen to it through game rips, and there is no official way of listening to it outside of that. Overall, I think I'll give the Tag 1 OST an A tier. Now finally, we move on to the Ancient Gods Part 2. Tag 2 was once again composed by David Levy and Andrew Holschull, and while it is similar to the style of the Ancient Gods Part 1, it goes a lot harder, and includes a lot more synths, which makes it more in line with Mick Gordon's music, while also being its own thing and not copying what's already been created. I personally think the soundtrack is better this time around. It may be because Andrew and David are more used to making the Doom soundtrack at this point, and some of their standout songs would be Head Stomp, Reclaimed Earth Super Heavy Fighting, and the credits music. I think Tag 2 is one of my favourite soundtracks, and it's only dragged down by the same issue that Tag 1 and the main campaign have, which is that most of the songs aren't actually named and are not released officially. So I think I'll give Tag 2 an A tier. But anyway, if you like Doom content and occasionally general FPS content, then I would recommend liking this video and subscribing to the channel, along with checking out my merch store, which, like I said, has a 20% off deal, using the code SUMMERTIME at checkout. You can also join my Discord and enter my 10,000 subscriber Q&A if you want to be featured in a video, because I am so close to 10k subs. You don't believe how excited I am, honestly. I've not felt this excited over a subscriber milestone since I hit my first 1,000, so I think most of the people who ask questions in the Q&A will be featured. But yeah, anyway, I also got a Twitter, you can check that out as well. So, thank you for watching, and as always, have a nice day.